Good afternoon, Winterview, back with another brief dialogue for his dear friend, Annastacey. Once again, reminder to the listeners, plural hopefully, that I'm in the car, a little audio interference probably from the car and the highway and the screaming pedestrians who I knocked down. Sirens, possibly. And in this particular dialogue, got a coffee in my hand. Actually, no, coffee's in the coffee holder. Periodically in my hand, to be sipped upon thusly. Sounds like a pause, but actually it's a sip. Alright, on with the dialogue. This one is on gurus. Gurus. Holy men, holy women, holy people, holy personnel. What are they? What are they good for? Do we need them? Should I be sitting in front of one? Should I be kissing one's feet right now? Should I be devoting my heart to a guru? Should I be in an ashram somewhere? Should I be in satsang, listening to the words of a wise person? Does YouTube count? Can I just do it in the comfort of my living room, in my underwear? Can I do it drinking a beer? And so on, and so forth. Are some gurus better than others? Are there false gurus? Are there real gurus? Yeah, I think we know what we're all talking about here. The world of guru is fraught with peril. We don't know if we're getting any benefit. We don't know if our guru's the real deal. And hell, do we even know what we're doing sitting in front of a guru? Is there anyone sitting in front of a guru? I know from my readings and my internet perusing and talking with friends and colleagues, seems to be a rather hot topic, and thought I'd add my 2 cents. Why not? That's what YouTube's for. 2 cents tube, as I call it. So there's an idea or a common theme, you might say, that gurus can be in some way ranked or rated or weighted on their something, on their merits. But what is a merit? What is a meritorious guru? How do we weigh them? How do we weigh a guru? Anyway, let's talk a little bit about guru mythology, first of all, and how the mind works. You know I like to talk about the mind. You should know that by now. The mind loves to be on the inside track, the inside of the inside. If the mind gets Silver Club membership, it's only a matter of time before it starts craving Gold Club membership, and then Platinum Club membership, and then Plutonium Club membership, and so on and so forth. The mind behaves like that. It behaves in terms of ranking things for their value, their hierarchy, their order, their magnitude, and sets about seeking them out. That's a behavior of the mind. We know it does that. In the world of gurus, we're no different. We do the same, pretty much, waiting and judging for our holy folk. That was a sip of coffee, by the way. We love our mystique and our mythology. The more obscure, the harder to reach, the more esoteric, the more Asian in some cases, the older, the longer the beard, the grottier the garb, the more offhand they are with their seekers, their followers, the more authentic they must be. Conversely, we don't like our modern gurus as much. We don't like our gurus to come in wearing a suit and a tie and have a little microphone and set up on a stage with a PowerPoint presentation. We don't like them to use modern businessy jargon words like, I don't know, I can't think of any out of the whole business world at the moment. Real accountability. And I go into my American accent suddenly. No offense, America. Didn't mean to insult you. And so on and so forth. We don't like the modern gurus as much. We get them on YouTube. They're very YouTube savvy. They're very cyber savvy. They run webinars and Skype conferences, and they behave, well, frankly, a lot like me in some ways. So, we like the old school. The mind loves old school mystery, mystique, and not so keen on modern. However, not always the case. It's a very broad, sweeping generalization, which I love. But we come back to the core point, which is, how do we know what we're getting from a guru? How do we judge authenticity? Sometimes we might sit in front of a guru or see a guru on YouTube who tells you to do something in order to reach enlightenment. You need to surrender. You need to meditate. You need to open your heart or some such thing, without explaining exactly how or to what end. And then you get the opposite school, the anti-school, who says don't do anything. Just do nothing. You can't do anything. There's no one there to do it anyway, so what the hell? Don't even bother, kind of thing. You could say it's the opposite. It's sort of the opposite. And then we get confused. Are we supposed to do something, or are we supposed to surrender? Or not do anything, sorry. Are we supposed to... How are we supposed to weight the words? So let's go into that a little bit. The mind is... Another sip. The mind, as we know, is outcome-oriented. It always operates in space-time and converts time and space into a journey of sorts. Can't help it. It's just what it does. It's mind behavior. So it takes the person, this is the conceptualized person, who has no external actual existence except as concept, and gets a sense that it's progressing somewhere spiritually. The more it learns or surrenders or whatever, it is somehow progressing towards a spiritual goal. But it's probably worth examining straight off the bat what the hell is exactly a spiritual goal, and does it exist at all? For many, the name of the game is enlightenment. Nothing less will suffice. And we hear wonderful stories of gurus who perhaps spent 20, 30, 40, 50 years meditating on a mountain until one day it was realized. Then we hear annoying stories like, I was just walking down the road and suddenly it just happened. Boom. Which is really annoying, especially if you've been meditating for 40 years. We cannot help it as people who are conceptualized as seekers into a time-space realm, being driven by the mind's endless desire for outcome or goal. It cannot be helped. This seeking energy, this restlessness towards a goal we don't know what it is, goes on as long as the mind is unaware of who or what the self is. In fact, if it even exists, moreover. So we have at the back this restless, seeking energy, as we might say. Next, we need targets for that restless, seeking energy. The mind will create its own targets, not having any benchmark to decide what a target is. It decides on its own target. The big daddy target, of course, is enlightenment, but there are sub-targets like being a better person, perhaps having special secret powers, mystical powers perhaps, feeling bliss and love and having your heart chakra opened wide and all that wonderful stuff. This can all go on, and it seems to be a sign that you're on your way, and the mind will continually reset the bar. Once a target is reached, there's the next thing to achieve. So there's the seeking, the restlessness in the background of the seeker who needs something apparently, but they don't really know what. And then of course come the gurus to fulfill the promise. And they are, once again, they're a function of mind. They're a function of the seeking energy. They are in some ways the target. So if the behavior of the mind is to set up targets for achievement, then, well, obviously it needs to have enlightened people somewhere in the world to emulate or to target. If there were no such thing as an enlightened person, what the hell would the mind do? It wouldn't know what to do. It wouldn't even be seeking. It wouldn't have any idea that there's an end journey. But we know it's restless. We know it wants something. We know it craves something. We know it seems to be seeking and on its way somewhere in some kind of spiritual journey that it's conceptualized, maybe vaguely or maybe quite strictly according to some pre-existing pathway. So it's only a matter of time before the mind will find gurus who represent the endpoint of the journey. So the mind has to decide then what is the appropriate endpoint, or what guru matches the endpoint that the mind desires. And you'll notice with your own preference some interesting things about yourself. Some people like the big flashy gurus. They like the gurus who command gazillions of followers around the world, who have maybe wealth and power and some sort of special status. They love that. That is their idea of the enlightened person. And so on some level it is secretly hoped that when I'm enlightened, when I reach enlightenment, perhaps I too will be in that league. I'll be a guru like that too, driving around in my fancy cars and talking to millions of people who ooh and ah over my every little utterance because I'm just so damn awesome. Then we have the popular gurus who might not be as flashy, but they still command a pretty heavyweight audience. And there's sort of a humility, perhaps, something, if it's not flashy, then maybe just a sort of nice humbleness of character. And we like the sound of that. We want to be of humble character too. And we see these figures, these men and women who sit and they seem to know a lot of stuff too often. They can tell you all about things. Actually, come to think of it, I seem to know a lot of stuff too, so maybe I'm that too. Oh my god. But these characters somehow are appealing on that level. So we don't like the glitz. We say, oh, I'm not into the glitz, I want the more humility thing. Then we go kind of a different way with our gurus. Some of us like our gurus to be mysterious and or rare or something. Like you can never see them, or they only take one follower every 50 years. And if it's you, oh my god, you've made it, kind of thing. And no one else knows about this guru, and you'll never tell anyone. You love that little secret somethingness. This is the real funny one. I love this one. This is the mind that just craves the specialness. That wants to be special. Wants the inside track of the inside track of the inside track. A lot of popular gurus do this trick as well. They have inner circles, then they have the inner circle, and then the inner circle, and so on, knowing full well that the mind loves that, craves it. Then we have the garden variety, the real boring gurus, the ones who tell it to you straight, sitting in their living room, wearing chinos and polo shirt, and they're going to pick up the kids later and have a barbecue at the Smiths on Sunday. Real suburban gurus who just tell it to you how it is. This is all there is, nothing to it, no person, any questions, thank you very much, I've got to go watch the game now. Those kind of gurus. And some of us love those gurus because of the ordinariness of that guru. We love the sort of, it speaks to that need to be super ordinary. It's a reassuring guru. Like, the life you're living, your boring suburban life, that's totally fine. Your boring suburban life is just what God wants. We secretly desire that. What else? What other gurus have we got? We got kind of religiously aligned gurus. There's Christian mystical figures who put a sort of Christian spin on the guru message. Buddhists, Zen Buddhism, a plethora of Zen Buddhists and former Zen Buddhists who have that real sort of a dry simplicity of message, know the scriptures very well, who can give you a spiritual quote to match every question. We've got the Hindu culture, which abounds with gurus. We all know India being very famous for its gurus. And their gurus obviously are very steeped in the Hindu tradition and talk of the deities and the pathways and the way the universe works and blah 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 and all that. And these gurus align very strongly with our own sort of spiritual beliefs and values, and in some ways just represent a progression or an end point or a pinnacle within the religion. So if I'm a Hindu, my Hindu guru is really in one sense pointing me to the pinnacle of Hinduism, which is Enlightenment, and I'm somewhere along that path. I could go on, there's probably other kinds of gurus. I forgot the real culty kind. My favourite targets for my dark sense of humour. The culty, take all your money, have sex with you, control your behaviour kind of gurus. Who doesn't love a good cult story? We all love these crazy groups of people. Usually a very charismatic leader. Often he managed to suck into the group very intelligent people. We're not sure how they quite fall for this, but there they are, lining up to drink Kool-Aid, and give the guru all their money, or somehow rationalize having sex with the guru as necessary for their own progress. They attract quite vulnerable followers, I feel. Followers who somehow needs to be controlled. I don't know exactly how the mechanism works. I'm sure I could do a dialogue on that one, but in some ways they need to just immerse themselves, like really immerse themselves in some very cultish organization. And we know that pretty much the demarcation of cults is the control they exert on the followers. If you're not sure if you're in a cult and you're listening to this, see if you can leave the group really easily, see what happens. If you can't, even if you can't through some sense of guilt or personal restriction, I'd say it's a culty group. Okay, so out of all these gurus that I've been going through, is there such a thing as a better guru or an authentic guru? Well, when I just mentioned the culty type, I'm aware that people will sort of sniff and go, oh no, not the culty types. You won't get anywhere, they'll take all your money, they'll have sex with you, and blah blah blah. But, we're back to the essential, fundamental, core problem again. What are we hoping to get out of these guru figures? What are they offering? How do we know that the controlling culty leader, guru figure, doesn't have actually a lot of wisdom to impart in some ways? How do we know that these spiritual heavyweights are just kind of dropkicks who don't know anything about anything? and they're a waste of time. How do we know? Well, it's a good question. It's worth asking. We hear people dismissing gurus sometimes as not authentic. But because why? What's the basis for the authenticity? We know that there are some very widely regarded gurus of fame. The one that jumps to mind is Ramana Maharshi, who is the famous Indian guru of the early 19th century, or 20th century I should say, yes, who was regarded as an authentic sage, but no one really knows how to define that, or why he was authentic, or whatever. We hear stories of being in his presence, people would cry, or have mystical experiences, or feel that sorrowful love thing from his gaze, feel deep peace and all that. These are all wonderful experiences, no doubt, but I'm sure there's a lot of pharmaceuticals that could give you the same experience, possibly. So is it just about the experiences we gain? Maybe we should be looking at enlightenment in terms of how many people get enlightened by sitting at the feet of a certain guru. Maybe that should be the ultimate marker. But then we're back to the other problem of how do you know if someone's enlightened? Another problem. Well, I actually don't think there's any answer to this. I don't think there's such a thing as an authentic guru, except how it's defined, personally. I know that the whole game plays out as a mind game, ultimately. So the goals, the sense of progress, the definitions, the ideas, the ideals, they're all mental, they're all highly conceptual. In that way, does it matter? It's just the mind doing what the mind does. I could have a personal opinion about the whole matter. I could say stay away from the manipulative, culty type of gurus. I could say stay away from the gurus who just talk twaddle. But why? What am I trying to suggest that's better than that? Or in other words, I'm trying to suggest something is better than something else. I could talk about the betterness from the perspective of my personal opinions, my mind, but we're talking about enlightenment, spiritual growth, union with God. We're talking about something that is unknowable, a mystery. We don't know what causes what, if there is even a cause of anything. As far as I can see, the causes of the world are only apparent. They're conceptual causes. There's no actual causes. But I've covered that in another dialogue. The guru bashing, even. This guru is no good and this one's awesome kind of thing. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Who knows? Who's to say? Who's to say? Maybe if the rating was on mystical experiences, you could just literally do it scientifically. You could say, how many mystical experiences have you had with this one? 4. How many with that one? 8. Okay, well 8 wins then, because 8 is better than 4. Is quantity better? Are the quality of the experiences better? We don't know. There's no way to know. We come back to a mystery. So seekers of truth, seekers of enlightenment, seekers of liberation, have a think about what you're doing out there. Consider it very carefully. Look at your concepts. Look at what's going on. Not for any particular reason. Maybe just because I'm more aligned with people feeling subjectively good in their experience. I'd be only suggesting on the mental plane, the time-space plane, is spend time with something that's in some ways nurturing, whether it's just a community who's quite nice, who matches you in some way, whether it's a funny group who you enjoy spending time with, versus if you're feeling controlled or upset a lot of the time, emotionally distraught, belittled or controlled, I'd be very, very cautious of those types of groups. That's only from the perspective of a psychologist there, someone who cares for the mental welfare of apparent people. But when it comes to enlightenment and liberation, I have nothing to advise, nothing to say about the matter. What do I know? This has been Winterview with a brief dialogue on the wonderful world of gurus. Comments are welcome.